Hasim went to interview Terry Angus to find out what he thinks about discipline and respect amongst young people.
My name's Terry Angus. I'm a Connections personal advisor. I've been a personal advisor now for some 4 or 5 years. I'm working here in the Wood End, Henley Green and Manor Farm area. My role is to look after the unemployed people and try and secure training and employment opportunities for them.
What sort of projects have you done so far to help improve discipline?
We've looked at a lot of personal development courses. That's improving the individual's self-esteem. We'll look at how they talk to people, how they look at people, body language, all those kind of things. We've done a few programs, but it involves personal development, as well as motivation, as well as self-esteem. So all those combined will hopefully help to improve.
Terry, do you think young people have more respect for their friends and their family?
I think, without speaking for all young people, I would say we're coming to the situation now where young people will definitely have more respect for their friends and will tend to do more things their friends say than their family. But a lot of young people now will see security amongst friends, and they'll say, well, my friend will back me, my friend will always be there for me. Hence the reason now we're possibly getting into a lot of sort of gang culture sort of things where people will look after their friends, and I won't diss my mate and they diss me and this, that and the other, which is then leading to stabbings and shootings and beatings and whatever. Whereas if parents or family say, no, please step out of that, they'll go, no, because my friends would support me. And it's only until some major crisis hits you, and I always say to young people, if you end up in hospital, who came to see you? If you end up in prison, who's wrote you a letter? They begin to realise. And sometimes it's maturity. I do, unfortunately, think young people now find more respect, more honour with their friends, and they're more likely to listen to them than their parents, which I think inevitably will lead to a breakdown in more family relations and more anarchy out in our street.
My next stop was Sutton Coldfield, where I interviewed Tony Clayton, who was a Royal Marine between 56 and 58 in 40 Commando. I wanted to find out his views on discipline and respect amongst the young people. If a person was being attacked by a group of people, would you try to intervene, or would you try to defuse the situation in any way?
I think I'd be inclined to, especially if it was an older person, a woman maybe. Yes, I think I would.
If you were an MP and you had the power to change one thing?
I think I would try and bring more discipline into life, into the life of young people especially, so that they're taught to know the difference between right and wrong and the consequences of their actions if they ignore those and they offend against society.
As you were in the Royal Marines, do you think that it helped you instill discipline in you as a young man?
Yes, you were taught to respect your superiors, whether it was your corporal who was in charge of you in your barrack room, or the officers in charge. And you were taught to obey orders, which you have to do in the military. You can't question them. You know, if you're in fighting an enemy, you can't say, oh, well, I don't think we ought to do that. So, yes, it did. It gave me confidence and self-discipline. Yes, it did.
Do you think national service should be reinstated?
Some sort of national service, yes, I think that's a good idea. Whether it's community service, where you help in the community, to get here again some form of discipline, because I think too many youngsters now grow up without being taught what's right and what's wrong. They don't have any discipline at home, they don't have any discipline at school, and then we wonder why they get into trouble and why we have a society like we do now.
If the cane was brought back, do you think it would have a say in it?
Within reason, I think some sort of corporal punishment is a good idea, yes, I do.
Because some parents feel that they can't or put that enforcement on their children. So
at the end of the day, you've got to teach people what's right and what's wrong. And if you teach them and they continually transgress here and don't take any notice, it's amazing how quickly a little bit of pain will instill it in your head, in your mind. You'll think, I really don't want to suffer that again. So I will obey. And I'll make myself maybe a better person in society. So yes, I don't think it does any harm.
what were your school days like?
Overall, I enjoyed it. I had lots of sport, soccer, cricket, rugby, swimming, and I loved the sport. And I was at boarding school from the time I was 8 until I was nearly 17. And that's the thing I remember most of all, the sport. I loved it. And you make good friends. And here again, you all have to muck in together, you know, to reach the same goal at the end. You know, if you try and do things individually sometimes, as a team, that's one of the beauty of playing soccer or rugby or cricket, you're a part of a team, and so you help each other out.
Would you say the way the media look at the youth of today, would you see that as they've got it right or wrong in what they feel about them?
They're sensationalised more in the tabloids, the Sun, the Mirror, the other tabloids. They tend to sensationalise things that happen, I think. You get less sensation and more, I don't know if you get more accuracy, in the broadsheet papers, the Telegraph, the Times, those sort of papers. Probably they get generally a bit of a negative press, but it does get depressing, I think. You see so much of youngsters offending and causing problems for whatever reason. And I do think it gets a little depressing, and it comes back then to that question of how do you put people on the straight and narrow path? And it comes back again, if they're not getting any discipline at home, if teachers aren't allowed to discipline, and this is the general situation with thousands of children, youngsters these days, somebody has to teach them the difference between right and wrong. And I think we'd have certainly a safer society if we did that. It comes back to that word discipline again. It's old-fashioned maybe, but we don't have much of it these days. And I think, like you, I agree, there should be more of it.
All right, thanks, Tony.
Okay, pleasure.
After all the interviews I've done, I've realised that the bad name youth get today isn't helping the next generation of young children. I feel the media has a big part to play in this. However, I reckon if school have more discipline and respect and more control on that, I reckon it would help the young people today to gain more respect.